Hey, it feels like it's about time to expose one of the biggest secrets in watercolor land, and that is what I'm going to be sharing in this video. Now, to some, this may look like just any other art haul, but to those with a keen eye, you will realize that actually what I have done in this video is create some super unique mixes with the use of some easily accessible watercolors that are probably in your palette already, and the addition of two watercolors that perhaps I'll admit are a bit out there. But my point is that with these watercolors, you're able to create some beautiful mixes that, dare I say, some of them, not gonna lie, some of my specialty colors are even better than the ones that we buy for sometimes extortionate prices. Now, don't get me wrong, I love convenience mixes. However, if you don't want convenience mixes or you want to create mixes that are truly out there, then I share exactly how you can do that in this video. Now, these are all the colors that I bought that I'm going to be swatching for you later on in the video. But before that, let's talk about how all this came to be. And the first step for me was looking at inspiration. So taking the time to really look at some of the colors that I was drawn to, looking at some of the paintings that I'd created that I kind of felt would really yield well to granulation. And for me, perhaps unsurprisingly, it is landscapes. So I kind of thought of, landscapes, rocks. How can I get all these different textures? What kind of colors do I want? And then from there, I started looking at the originals, colors that I felt granulated in a truly beautiful way, such as these Daniel Smith watercolors from the dot cards. I started looking at my Holbein granulating colors and seeing the different mixes that were present. I started looking at my absolutely stunning Roman Schmull colors, and the aim of this was one, to see what pigment or what mixes are actually inside them, but also to kind of figure out what kind of colors do I like, what kind of colors do I want to try and recreate. Now, I know I have made many a video where I was swatching out greens, but I wanted this to be different, so I swatched out colors that are not greens. And that is what I was focusing on, just really making unique, beautiful colors. And through looking at the colors that I was either drawn to, that I either wanted to add to my landscapes, or colors that I kind of felt had really beautiful mixes, I came up with what I feel is a pretty cool formula. And it's not a secret in theory, because it's written on all the tubes that we look at, but for reasons unknown, we know that convenience mixes can sometimes be a lot pricier. And so the groundbreaking secret, the formula that I found that doesn't always work but works quite well a lot of the time, is having granulating colors and mixing them with bright, non-granulating, highly staining colors. And together we get some really cool, beautiful mixes. So in this part now, I'm just going to swatch out the colors that I did buy, talk through them in a bit more detail, and towards the end I will show you some of the really beautiful mixes that I made using just these colors. I will leave everything linked down below in the description, and I'm always happy to answer any questions in the comments. You're welcome to try this too, whether you follow along with what I'm doing in terms of swatching out this art haul, or whether you want to take the steps that I took, looking at the colors that you're interested in first, then seeing what pigments are included in those colors and whether you have them to hand or have something similar that you can mix, and then just spending some time swatching them out, doing mixes and seeing what happens. A gentle reminder to like the video, to subscribe, and to leave a comment down below if you want to see more like this. Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, so to start things off, I'm just going to swatch out the new colors that I got as well as the replacements that I got. So for example, I've got double one of these just so that we can see the actual colors and their properties. And I tried to keep the granulating colors on this side and the brighter non-granulating colors on that side. So this is Rosa's green, cobalt green medium, which is PG26, and then this is also PG26 by Rembrandt. It's cobalt turquoise green, and as you can see, they are completely different, which is why a lot of the time it's just helpful to look at swatches and watch videos. Learning pigment names will help, but it's not absolutely everything. As you can see, colors can still be different because different colors have different versions, or rather different pigments have different versions. I'm just gonna, before we get there, pick up, this is quite a lot of binder, so I don't know if you can tell, but with the Schminke colors there was quite a bit of binder separation in some of them, and resist the urge to just like expel all the binder, because then the colors are more likely to get hard. So it's actually better to mix it into the color, use a toothpick or something to mix it all in. This beautiful color here is cobalt turquoise, PB28. and I think it will granulate if memory serves, and this is Rosa Gallery's version. And it's funny because a few of these colors actually featured in our favorites palette, so it's nice to see them again. Speaking of, we have Schmincke's French Ultramarine, which one of our members, Sonia, had actually recommended for our favorites palette, specifically because of its beautiful ability to granulate, and it really does granulate quite a lot. Another one that actually granulated quite a lot that surprised me was Haul's Ultramarine Blue. A few weeks ago, there was a crazy sale, crazy sale. If you watch my channel enough, or if you are on my Ko-fi or on my mailing list, or if I have a direct way of contacting you, then you will know that there was an incredible sale where Haul sold 3 of their tubes for 25p for the set. And as part of that set, you got Ultramarine Blue, Quin Magenta, and a Nickel Azure Yellow, which happened to be my favorite colors. Let me show you. Super cute set, which, as you can see, I've already started using, and you got these 3 colors for 25 pence. It is unreal, unheard of. So I was literally shouting it absolutely everywhere so that everyone could make use of the deal, and I'm so glad that so many of you did. Can you see how much granulation we then got with the Ultramarine Blue? And this is Haul's Ultramarine Blue. So with these 3 colors, the Nickel Azure Yellow, the Ultramarine Blue, and the Quin Magenta, we got all these absolutely stunning mixes. Which reminds me, because it feels like that's a pretty good reason to subscribe or to join my newsletter, but even better reason to join my art membership. And if you are an art member in the Happy Mail tier, then this is your spoiler alert that some of the paints that I have included in this art haul I have actually sent out to you. So look away for the next 10 seconds if you don't want to see. For everybody else, if you would like to paint together, if you'd like to join our Zoom sessions, have access to extra videos, have access to art challenges, and just be part of a really lovely community where we can share and grow and inspire each other to continue on this art journey, then basically be sure to join my art membership, which I will leave linked down below for you. And it's through the very kind support of my Ko-fi members that I am able to continue making videos like this for you. So thank you in advance to everyone. It's fun and it's important, and it's worthwhile looking through the supplies that you already have, because chances are you have an Ultramarine Blue, and it will granulate, maybe not as much as all the rest, but it will granulate enough for you to experiment and see the kind of different colors that you can get. Then here we have Jackson's Blue Violet, which is PV15. I don't know, I got randomly curious about this color. I think because it granulates, and I wanted to see like the different mixes that I could get from it. So I actually got 2 versions. One is Jackson's, which is this one, and this one. So this version is Rembrandt's PV15. Both of them are quite low tinting. Rembrandt's one is maybe a little bit bluer, but both will probably granulate. We shall see. Then here we have Schmincke's Volcano Yellow, which is one of the few yellows that actually granulate. And the reason that I got it is because looking at Holbein's granulating colors, quite a few of them have PY159. So I just kind of wanted to be able to see, you know, could I recreate some of those colors with one tube? Could I actually make my favorite ones? Winsor & Newton also has a PY159, which I was looking into, but it was sold out at the time, so I couldn't get it. So instead I got this one. Let me hopefully save you some time and money in saying that I don't think that the Schmincke's Volcano Yellow is worth it at all. The tube was around £14, and it just came out in this brown kind of consistency that wouldn't then reactivate. I thought it was binder, but it was the majority of the tube. I was kindly sent a replacement, but it did the same thing. So it's really not a color that I think is worth the risk or worth the cost. And I tried the stirring, I tried using a toothpick, I tried massaging the tube, I tried pouring it out and mixing it there, nothing worked. Eventually, as you can see, I did manage to get some paint out of it, but even then I don't know if that's like the actual colour or the way that it's meant to be. So I may try Winsor & Newton's version in the future because I like the idea of a granulating yellow, but I just thought I should give you the heads up just in case you are planning on doing this same experiment. Then we have Schmincke's Potter's Pink, which is a really lovely super granulating, as in like it granulates a lot, not that it's a super granulating color, pinky color that again is really helpful if you love making granulating mixes, especially as it's not the like highest of tinting colors, so it's not going to overpower your other colors, it's just going to make them granulate a bit more. And we also have Mahogany Brown. So this is a new color to me, PBR 33, and I think I was just intrigued by the actual brown color, and I assume it will granulate, but I don't know, so we'll see. I'll still add quite a bit of water. I just liked the actual brown color because it feels like a, I don't know, like a slightly deeper burnt sienna. Then here we have burnt umber, which is PBR 7, and this usually granulates quite a bit as well. There we go. So we'll get a good idea and good representation of the color. Interestingly, the cobalt green medium PG36, PG26, both of them aren't really granulating that much at the moment, so that would be curious to see how they dry. Okay, and then next we will also look at phthalo blue. So tiny bit of color, but as you can see, beautiful and electric. So we're moving on to the colors that are non-granulating, because I don't know, I found that when I looked at the pigment names, but also when I tried to do my own mixes a while back in a few videos, and I can link those for you, the nicest combinations that I got were actually from utilizing granulating colors as well as these non-granulating highly staining colors, and the two really gave yield to beautiful results. So this is Schmincke's phthalo green, that was Jackson's phthalo blue. And phthalos are just, I love phthalos. They are like super powerful. I love phthalos and quinacridones, so they're super powerful colors. They don't granulate, and like a little just goes such a long way. So I find them to be really helpful colors to have. And then also a lot of the time they're quite inexpensive. This is Rosa's Magenta Rose, so Rosa Gallery's Magenta Rose, and it is beautiful. Darker than I thought it was going to be, as in like it can get a lot darker in mass tone, which is really nice. Might as well make use of all that paint. And then as a random, because why not? Because I feel like, you know, one of the helpful things with this is like experimenting and not being too precious about it. But if you have like, since we have so much Rosa here, so if you have the Rosa, a PR122, doesn't have to be Rosa Gallery's one, and then you also, I'm just cleaning my brush, pick up some PG7 and mix the two, you get some stunning, beautiful purples. So I'm going to take some more. So that's the two together, and that's the color that you get in between, which is a mixture that I discovered by accident. As in not just now, but when I was specifically doing mixes with PG7, I got that mix and I was like, wait, what? How does that happen? And then here we have Schmincke's Helio Turquoise, which is PB16, and it's just a color that is, I mean, it's a pretty color. I love turquoises, as you can probably see and surmise. And this almost looks like a phthalo. I wonder if it is a phthalo. Spoiler alert, it's a phthalo. Let me make sure my brush is nice and clean, because I'm using really staining colors, so a little bit will stain quite a lot. So this is Rosa's PY150. It's called a Realin by the brand, but actually it's PY150, and I just love PY150, also known as Nickel Azo Yellow. It's one of my favorite yellows because, I don't know, there's just like a nice depth to it, and then you can also use it to glaze because it's transparent. It's a really lovely underrated yellow that just has range. Like, look at that. This side we have something that's a bit more brown orangey leaning, and this side we have something that almost looks like a pure lemon yellow. I love the color. Makes some really lovely anything actually. It can make some really lovely oranges, but it can also make some really lovely peaches and really beautiful greens. And then here we have Sennelier's Sophie Yellow, PY93. That's just such a pretty run-of-the-mill yellow. I topped up on this actually because I added it to our favorites palette for myself, and was running low. My goodness, I almost forgot to swatch out one of the main colors that actually inspired this entire haul, and that is PBK11 by Turner, so Mars Black by Turner. I already have a Mars Black by Schmincke, which is kind of like a warm granulating black, but I'd seen on Lindsay the Frugal Crafter's channel, she'd mentioned that she prefers Turner's version, so I got really curious and wanted to compare it. And as you can see, it's like a little bit cooler, a little bit more blue leaning, and we're going to get some really lovely mixes from that in a second. I I also wanted to really randomly and quickly see if I could mix in autumn green kind of color, so Roman Schmall's autumn green. And I feel like I got pretty close, and that's what I mean about having a look at some pigment informations or colors that you like, and then seeing if you can recreate them with the colors that you have to hand, because more likely than not, even if you have a basic set of watercolors, you will have enough to make some really interesting mixes. And I feel like I got pretty close. What do you think? Now, this next bit was so much fun and I learned so much from it. You are more than welcome to join in if you have your colors out and you're ready to experiment. It's something that you can dedicate anything from 5-10 minutes to 5 hours, depending entirely on how you feel. But this was essentially me mixing and experimenting all the different colors that I've got in this haul, with the aim and the mission being to just try and create different mixes, try and create granulating mixes, see what kind of different colors I can get. This first page is all focused around using Rose's cobalt green medium. Then the next page I was kind of a bit curious and I did those same mixes, but this time using Rembrandt's version, that's a little bit more green leaning. And there were no like super strict rules to doing this. When I say that I was trying to be strategic, I mean that initially I had like one page dedicated to one color, but in that page I was mixing pinks into it, yellows into it, blues into it, to just see what kind of different mixes I could get. And then sometimes I'd be like, if I want to make something that's a little bit greener, what could I add to make that happen? And that's kind of what led my experimentation. Again, kind of being limited in a bit to the colors that I'd got for this art haul, and also thinking unique colors. So trying to resist going to my usual go-to mixes. Here I'm mixing the blue violet, so the PV15s, and creating mixes with that. And that was an interesting challenge because it's quite low tinting. So that means that, if I added it to a super bright color and I added quite a bit of that color, it would easily get overpowered. So it just allowed me to make slightly subtler mixes. And then this is where I get even less structured with it, and that's just because I wanted to see what kind of greens I could make and what kind of colors I could mix, and I was trying to recreate colors that I already had, such as the autumn green or undersea green and the different blues that I've seen. And honestly, this was so much fun, and it led me to discover some incredible mixes, not only through looking at the tubes that already existed, but also just like playing around, because I had colors left on my palette and I didn't want to waste them, and doing mixes that way. So it's definitely something, if you love color and I feel like even if sometimes you maybe feel a bit blocked, or you don't know what to do, you want to be creative but you don't want to give too much thought to it, just playing with color can really be a therapeutic exercise. And if you make notes next to it in terms of the colors that you added it, then this becomes something super helpful that you can later on look back on. And it's through all these experimentations that I came up with some really beautiful mixes that you can also try and recreate yourself. And one of the things that I found key and that I really enjoyed was that I was able to make these mixes using some common colors that I already had in my palette, such as the quinacridones and the phalos and the ultramarines, but also adding, I'd say, maybe 2 colors were key in making these unique mixes, and the other ones are probably colors that you already have in your palette. And as you can see, they are stunning, they are quite different, but the point is that it's so versatile. This is just a drop in the ocean in terms of the different mixing capabilities. And if you love oranges, you can explore more into that. If you love pinks, you can do more exploration in that way as well. But the 2 colors that I feel were key for mixing that perhaps were colors that I didn't have in my palette before was, one, mahogany brown, which is PBR33. I don't know why I bought this color. I don't know what possessed me to get it. I think it was just that I didn't have that pigment. Like, I didn't have that color before. I saw it, I'd heard of it. I kind of saw a swatch of it and I thought, oh, that looks like a nice brown, and I added it. But honestly, the mixes that this color made were just unreal, chef's kiss, beautiful kind of colors that I absolutely love. And the other color is PBK11, so Mars Black by Turner. And what I mean by key is I'm highlighting these 2 colors specifically because they are not the typical colors that you would get in a watercolor set. They are colors that perhaps you would have to go out of your way to get, specifically if you liked these kind of mixes and you wanted to make these kind of unique mixes. The other colors that I think are absolutely wonderful for this experiment, I'm also going to be highlighting as we do these swatches, but they are the quinacridones that I mentioned, the phthalo colors, the ultramarine blues, the potter's pink, all these kind of colors that I feel like we hear quite enough of, plus these two additional colors that I think are a little bit going underneath the radar but really yield some stunning mixes. But my encouragement to you would be to first try and do special mixes using the colors that you have a look at what pigments are there, have a look at different mixes, maybe try to make some of the mixes that I'm making in this video and see how they go. And then once you've tried that, if you feel like, oh, there's actually a really special mix that you want to try and recreate, then look into getting 1 or 2 tubes that can help you make those really cool convenience mixes and really cool special mixes. So I'm not gonna lie to you, the initial mahogany brown mixes that I made were a happy accident, and I loved them, and those are the ones that you can see at the top of the screen. And then from there I was like, let me employ that formula of adding a super bright non-granulating color to it, and thus I add phthalo blue, and that is how we get this absolutely beautiful color. So that's PBR 33 and PB 15, so mahogany brown and phthalo blue. And from there the experimentation just continued. So next I'm adding PBR 33, so the mahogany brown, but this time adding it to PR 122, which is like our Quin Magentas, or I think is Rosa Magenta in Rosa Gallery. But essentially, as you can see, you can get such a wide range, and as it dries you will see that it will also granulate in a really nice but quite subtle way. It almost reminded me of Holbein's granulating color, the Twilight Purple. So again, really nice and subtle pink. From there, this is a little bit of a cheat because technically it's not granulating color, but it's just a mix too beautiful to not include. And that is PG7 and PR122. So mixing a phthalo green with that Quin Magenta and getting these really beautiful moody purples or kind of moody pinks, depending on how much of each you add. And then if you add a bit of black to that as well, it just gets even moodier, and that is what then turns it into a granulating color, which again was one of my favorites from this entire kind of experiment, because it was just beautiful, nice and moody and so simple to make. And I can't quite in my head explain why a green and a pink make a purple, but they just do. And here is a bigger swatch of all three together. So phthalo green, Quin Magenta and Mars Black together just give yield to this really beautiful, moody, pinky, purpley kind of color. And from there, we continued with the experimentation, but this time adding Cobalt Green Medium, which is Rosa Gallery's PG26, with phthalo blue. And all these, because Cobalt Green Medium does granulate like a bit, it just kind of all gave yield to a very subtle kind of aquamarine kind of color, if that makes sense. So nothing too drastic, and I had to add just the tiniest bit of phthalo blue, otherwise it became quite overpowering, but it was a really nice and subtle color. And I feel like that was pretty much the general gist with all the PG26 mixes. They were quite gentle, quite light, including mixing PG26 with PV15. Both of them are quite low tinting colors, but they gave yield to like a really nice purple leaning kind of gray, the kind of gray that you would expect almost to do like nice clouds, you know, like that kind of nice effect. And if I added a lot of green, then of course it starts leaning a little bit more greeny, but still that kind of gentle shadow color. Next we move on to Potter's Pink. So I added Potter's Pink to Ultramarine. Both of these are granulating colors, so I'm kind of breaking the mold or breaking the rule that I'd created per se, but again it just gave yield to such really beautiful, lovely kind of colors. And actually I think that this was inspired by Tundra Rose because it has those two colors, so that's why I decided to mix them together. And the beauty of making these mixes yourself is that depending on how much Potter's Pink you add, or depending on how much ultramarine blue you add, you end up getting quite drastically related but different colors. So I could get a really nice granulating almost purpley blue, or I could get like a grey kind of pink color, depending on how much of each I added. And just to kind of give you a bit of a close-up and to show you some of the comparisons, here are the Tundra Rose colors. So I actually tried to then recreate it to get a little bit closer, but I kind of prefer my mixes. Let me know what you think. Then here we are doing mixes with Mars Black, PBK11, and PR122, which is the Quin Magenta. And honestly, really lovely mixes. I was making my own kind of mixes initially thinking of dusk pink because I know that these are the two pigments that are included. However, having not looked at dusk pink, the initial colors are the mixes I made. Once I swatched out dusk pink, I was curious as to whether I could get a bit closer, and that is what I'm doing here by really adding a bit more of that PBK11, so a bit more of that Mars black that's going to granulate, and see how they kind of look. And actually they look really similar when dry. I'd probably say that the Turner's PBK11 ended up granulating quite a lot, so then you could see a lot more of the pink than I could see with the dusk pink, if that makes sense. But still a really fun experiment, and you can see that the colors that I made, or the colors that I preferred, had less black. But this is the beauty of making your own mixes. You can play around with that. And then here we have some mixes with PY159. I tried, like I said, I was inspired to get PY159 because it's in a lot of the Holbein granulating colors, and I just thought that they looked really beautiful. But unfortunately the mixes weren't great, and it kind of felt like I was just mixing with binder. That being said, like, I did the mixes, I like the colors that I got. They dried very, very shiny, again kind of alluding to it being binder, but I may try to recreate these with the Winsor & Newton 159. We shall see. I hope that you have enjoyed seeing all these unique mixes and plays. I am so proud and so happy of these colours that I mixed. Let me know what you would name them. Like, should this be Sketches Blue, or like, is it an ocean, like Sketches Ocean Blue? Should this one be like Sketches Purple? Because I mean, I think it's beautiful. And maybe this one's Sketches Grey. Like, you can tell I'm not that creative with the names, but I am very much open to suggestions. So if you do have a suggestion, leave it down below in the comments, and we can all see the wonderful ideas that you have. If you're watching this far, you are no doubt a real MVP, and I just really, really appreciate you. Let me know that you're still watching by either suggesting a name or saying Sketches Blue in the comments, and then I'll know, you'll know, and everybody watching will know that you are a real MVP. As a gentle reminder, here are some of my personal favorites from this art haul that I feel like really shined when it came to giving me some interesting mixes, and that is Schmincke's Mahogany Brown, Schmincke's French Ultramarine, Schmincke's Potter's Pink, as well as Turner's Mars Black. And when it comes to the non-granulating colours, it was the Phthalo Blue, the Phthalo Green, and a Quin Magenta. And I used Jackson's as well as Rosa's, but ultimately I feel like these are quite easily accessible colours that you can get from any brand. Let me know which mixes were your favourites, because I would love to know. And that applies whether they are from this video or whether they are mixes that you have tried yourself that you would recommend we try as well. If you have enjoyed this video, then you will definitely love this series of next ones where I highlight my favorite art supplies as well as other mixing experiments. I will also leave my art membership linked so that if you want to be part of my community, to join my Zoom sessions, to create together, get more inspiration and exclusive content, then you are more than welcome to join. I'll see you all next week. Bye.